untapped talent at gradsoflife.com.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally.
Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
You make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors. And to follow the swimming rules.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
What do you think it would be like to teach? Chances are, you have no idea. Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, proving that greatness can be found in everyday places, and that you don't need to be famous to be unforgettable. That's what it's like to teach.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of My Waterbury. I am your host, Art Denz. And as customary, before I get into this evening's program, we want to say hello to our little Princess Grace. She's back from vacation, back to school, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. But I do want to mention one announcement is our annual awards dinner coming up. It's a week from tonight. Greater Waterbury Neighborhood Council. It's at the Ponte Club. Next Thursday evening, starts at 6, cocktail hour, and the dinner and awards are from 7 to 9:15 p.m. And if you want any tickets, please give me a call. I'm in the phone book, 203-755-5761. I'll direct you to where you have to go. Right now, we're up at around 300 people, so the more the merrier. We're honoring a lot of local people that have given a ton of their own time to help make Waterbury great. And this is why we have these dinners each and every year, to honor those people that give of themselves unselfishly and to bring us to where we are today. Okay, next Thursday, Ponte Club, give me a call and I will direct you to where you have to go to the for tickets. So anyway, this evening, as I mentioned last week, we have our independent candidate for the 71st District, which is my district, Danielle Albert. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here, Art.
And it's a pleasure to have you, Danielle. And I know, as usual, we are getting into the this election for our state reps. And I'm glad to see you're running in the 71st because really we don't have anybody that's noticeable other than name.
Right.
You know, and I call it the Phantom. But anyway, I know you've got some material here, so
Yes.
Please feel free to start explaining what you've got.
Well, thank you, Art, for having. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure.
My name is Danielle Albert, and I'm running as the independent candidate for the 71st District. I've lived in Waterbury for the last 16 years. I have 3 daughters. I work at St. Mary's Hospital in the emergency room. I do have some teaching background. And I'm very excited this year. This is a very pivotal election in a lot of different ways.
Well, there's no question about that.
I have run before against Tony D'Amelio, and it's actually interesting. I came across this article. It was written 2 years ago, and it said experience versus enthusiasm. And I thought it was kind of appropriate to bring tonight because I think what I have done in the last 2 years is turn that enthusiasm into community experience.
No question.
Some of the things that I am involved in, I am on the Board of Health as a commissioner. I'm part of Neighborhood Council with Art. I'm part of the Gilmartin and the Hopeville Community Clubs. I'm secretary of the Independent Party. And what really started this out, maybe going back about 5 years or so, was being the PTA president at my daughter's school, and that has grown into something greater than I could have really ever imagined, and that's a life of community activism.
Right.
And that activism is something that we don't see with our current representative.
I don't see anything, but
No,
that's
nothing.
okay. Go ahead.
Many years ago, education was my main focus, but I think that over the years I have shown that I'm about more than education. Excuse me. There's not really an issue, Art, that I'm afraid to really get out there and take on, and the most important thing is that I am visible. Some of the things that I've been involved in over the last few years that have really had a significant impact on the city are the Greenway project. That started and then it stalled, and I was not afraid to get out there, go to the Board of Aldermen meeting, and really push for some progress. I mean, sadly, that's still
Well, right
stalled.
now, it's in limbo.
Right.
Yeah, and I got to say, this young lady here has been very, very active with the Board of Education in their meetings.
Yes.
Because the paper does cover it.
Yep.
And your name always seems to pop up.
It does. It pops up sometimes where I don't want it to either. One of the other things is the Freight Street redevelopment. They held a forum several months ago, and I was there. I had some ideas, things like veterans housing, veterans service hub, maybe developing that area for our veterans, because there's, like, even now they're talking about luxury housing. I think it's a great idea, but is it really going to have an impact on some of the population of our city? Will it have a good impact?
Right.
F&G was another thing. F&G is right on the border of the 71st and 75th, and I think a lot of people don't realize how tightly those two districts really need to work together. I mean, the South End, Town Platte, Gilmartin, Hopeville, Middlebury, the 71st is a really diverse district,
Right.
and F&G, that was a big issue, and our representation was nowhere to be found.
Oh, Danielle, I just want to interrupt you one second. I know what you're saying. This man, this person, the supposedly representative of ours in the 71st District, has never once has shown his face in all the meetings that we've had, and we've had dozens of meetings. Everybody from the city, and you know what? Even a representative from the North End came down to support this project, to keep this trash out of the city.
Yeah.
But this representative he's never out there. He's not visible at all. I don't understand how you could possibly continue to vote for this individual and not see him. He is the only representative, I'm sorry, I get wound up. He is the only representative out of the 5 that we have in this city. I don't ever remember seeing him getting involved in anything. Yeah. You figure Berger. You've got
Stephanie Cummings.
Stephanie Cummings. You had, at the time, Salim Nujang.
Yep.
Who the hell's
Jerry
Reyes
Reyes is very
down
involved.
the other end. I'm missing one. I know I am. But who?
Larry Butler.
Larry Butler. I just mentioned him because he does come and support us. These are the people that you want to have represent you. They're visible. They do things. They work for us, the taxpayer. Where is this man? Never to be seen. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, but it's the truth. It's not 2 years ago when we ran, not 16 years ago when I first moved to the city, and not even now. It was actually really, I had to laugh a little bit. I answered the phone the other day, and I had an automated message from Tony D'Amelio asking for support and for vote, and I was. You know what? Being with the Independent Party, we do a lot of door knocking, a lot of phone calls, personal contact. To get an automated message like that, it's just an assumption that what's always been done is going to continue, and just because he's always been there, it's almost like it's assumed he's just going to be able to slide right in, and that's not fair, because I am more than qualified to be a good representative for my district in Hartford. And I think if people would start not being afraid to break party lines and really vote for the best qualified candidate, I think things could be so much better.
You're absolutely
I really
right.
do.
There's no question about it. I mean, he takes for granted. I mean, he actually got 1 year when I ran it. They got mad at me. Him and his cohorts. You know, the boys in the back. they got mad because I was running against him. That's his district. You can't get involved. But apparently you people seem to enjoy it. What is it that you can't see about this man that he has not done at all? And I ask anybody, call on the phone and tell me one thing he's done in the past 10 years, never mind 20 that he's been in. That's a problem. People just don't seem to think strong and hard enough about their representing their representative up in Hartford or, in that fact, in Washington. The same thing.
I mean, and there's so many, like I said, this is a very pivotal election year, and there's so many things even going on locally that need to be addressed that aren't getting addressed. Our taxes, our car taxes, all these economic development projects, and truthfully, there is no bigger proponent for economic development and neighborhood revitalization than me. There is not. But when you're pumping millions of billions of dollars into the city, into these projects with no plan, there needs to be some oversight to that. And if the money's coming from the state, I think that part of the responsibility lies on our state representatives to keep an eye on what's happening. And I mean, I'm not really a big numbers person. Larry DePillo likes numbers, John Tharrow, they all like numbers. But just think about this. You have $7.5 million for the Holland Hughes building, $10 million for this Oddfellows building, $4 million on East Main Street, and there's no plan for these buildings. Think about putting those millions of dollars back to the state and helping offset some of this tax burden that we have. I mean, the taxes are astronomical.
I know.
I was blown away when I got my housing tax bill and my car tax bill, almost $1,000. I mean, we're a family of 5. And that's the thing. There's so many families like mine out there that can't keep doing this anymore.
I mean, you could only go to the well so much. And I remember a number of years ago, we were down at City Hall, and then I'm pretty sure it was the governor running for re-election, and he came in stating shared sacrifice. And you know what? We're still getting that shared sacrifice, but you know, we're the ones that are sacrificing, not the politicians. And that's the thing that really aggravates me, because you know what? Somebody has to start looking out for us, and that's the bottom line. And I'm sure you have the right attitude, Danielle. There's no question about it. You've seen what's going on, and you have a very good handle on what the representative in our district especially should be doing.
Well, that's the thing. Honestly, I'm not an expert on everything. Nobody can possibly have every right answer for every situation that they're gonna walk into. And to baseball it a little bit, there's a rookie season for everybody. Everybody has a first term. You learn the ropes, but I think what I have shown is that I have the initiative. I'm not afraid to go out and learn about things, to educate myself, and then to come back and say, okay, this is what I found. This is what I think is going to work. And the good thing about being an independent is that there's no party lines. There's an ability to work with everybody. I mean, I've worked already with, reached out to Jerry Reyes for some community things, to Stephanie Cummings. So the relationships are already being built just on a personal level.
They're a different type of person. They're willing to work with everybody. Whereas this guy, I have to say, in all my years in Town Plot, he has done absolutely nothing. I've never seen him at any neighborhood function. None whatsoever.
Town Plot
How many
picnic.
times have you been there? Right? Yep. You've been to our meeting. I think you were more to meetings than he ever. Well, like I say, he never comes. He's not a person that I call dedicated to that district. And get into Middlebury. That's another story, because I have no idea. Half of the people out there don't even know who their representative is.
And that I think everybody should know. Everybody should have essentially a direct line to you. If there's concerns, then you know what? Dial the phone, send the email, and everything should be. I know I've sent emails before about some things, and then I just went about getting my answers.
Yeah, no, I know. Look, I
other
agree
way.
Wholeheartedly. I mean, before, when I was on the board, we had aldermen at large. Now we have aldermen by district. When we were at large, you know what? The independent aldermen, we went anywhere in the city that wanted our attention, and we went. It didn't matter what section of town you were in. But now these guys here, they don't even take care of their own district.
I know.
This is the thing. It's so aggravating that, to me, politicians just They have a ton of things to say, and then after they get elected, you know what? Amnesia sets in. I'm serious.
Yeah.
And then you don't see them anymore until the next election.
Right.
So who's at fault? You, the voter. Bottom line.
I mean, you've got something coming up in your neighborhood, and I know it's Brooklyn, but Brooklyn is very much part of the 71st
we work closely.
District.
Our two associations, Brooklyn and Town Plot Neighbors, we work close together.
They're looking to get the park put in
Yes.
at the bottom of
Right,
Congress in
right.
Washington, and that's my district
Right.
too. I mean, and where is the help going to come? That's not just going to happen without somebody basically leading the charge and saying, okay, this is what you want. Let's get this together,
Right.
and let's advocate for the funds for funds that aren't going to cost the taxpayers.
No, I
but
agree.
there's money.
No, I mean, you're
Yep.
right in there. I mean, you're right on the ball, because these are the things that any good representative, any good person that gets in as an elected official, they know what they have to do, and they try to do the best they can. But this guy he's never been around, never. You know what? These things here, so all I'm concerned about, it's just propaganda. We're paying for this, by the way, folks. We are. You and me, the taxpayer. We pay for all this propaganda.
Well, it was funny. I just had a conversation before we sat down about money and what you could do if you have funds available for a campaign. And
Right.
I mean, it's disappointing being at somewhat of a disadvantage. So I can't really advertise and put out propaganda, but you know I can promote myself and promote what I've done in the community
Right.
and what I hope to do.
Like I said, I mean, I constantly read I read the paper every day. And I notice whenever there's a Board of Ed, you're there.
Mm-hmm.
And God bless people like you. We need more of you. And unfortunately today, everybody don't care. They don't care. They just sit back and whatever happens, happens, and say, so what? But you know what? Don't complain when things aren't the way they should be.
And there is a lot happening in the city. I mean, I go and I've started going to the Board of Aldermen meetings.
Right.
I mean, there's they're looking to finish the municipal stadium,
Yeah.
but on whose dime?
It's naturally ours. And where was he? Where's this guy?
No, Jeffrey Berger advocated for the $2 million,
Yeah.
and that I mean.
Well, I mean, Jeffrey Berger, I mean, he did a heck of a job getting that money in.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, look, and this is kind of common sense. You're in the minority, right? You know whatever you say is going to fall on deaf ears. But he doesn't show any encouragement or try to get in there to promote his district. So the easiest thing to do is just sit back, let it ride, and blame the Democrats for everything that happens. But what about our Republican legislator, the local legislator? How many times have they brought money back to their district? And I'm talking about out where Stephanie Cummings is.
Yeah.
Same thing with Salim Nujay when he was out there. He did it. He did it always. He was a Republican, minority, but he got it done.
Yep. Stephanie brought in, I believe, funds for the gang task force. Now that's
Yes.
a huge problem across the city. There's the shootings and the violence up in the North End. Unless everybody gets together and really puts their heads together, it's going to trickle down just like a cancer. It's going to go right from the North End,
You're right.
and I know that's one of the things that the town plot neighbors are concerned about. The theft
Absolutely, they're concerned about a lot of things. But
Yeah.
you know what? We don't get any recognition at all from the state representative. He's a name only, as far as I'm concerned. He's more concerned about his business and every other thing that goes along with it. But that's another story for another day. But the sad part about it is that the people in my community cannot see this guy for what he is. He's nothing. It's sad to say. I mean, you know, you hate like heck. You know, I ran against people. But you know what? After the election or whatever, we're still friends. We still talk to one another. This guy here, he's bad news. I'm sorry.
I think it's just a matter of changing the mindset, just showing people that there really is another option. 2 years ago, education was really my main focus, but it has grown in, like I said, into so much more. And hopefully, this election will get people to come down to that third party and consider.
You know what I want to say before we run out of time is that, as we know. I should say, as you know, the independents cross-endorsed the Republican slate. Now, I'm not talking about our district. I'm talking about the the top runners on the Republican Party. So what you've got the opportunity to vote for them on our line, on the independent line. Stay on the independent line when you come across for the 71st district, or any other district for that matter. Vote independent. You know what? To quote a famous person, what the hell have you got to lose? And you know who I'm talking about. The president.
Yes.
And you know what? People voted for him. That's what you have to do in the 71st district, and I hope you do that across the board on that independent ticket. Bottom line, I'm sorry. I mean, I've seen it. You know, when you sit back and you see the day-to-day operation and who is involved in our city, these are the people that are represent. Okay, it's not directly, but they're still representing Waterbury. They're out there. They are getting involved. Again, it sounds like a repetitive, but this guy's never involved in anything.
No. I mean, there also, too, there are candidates where there is a lot of rhetoric. I mean, like even everybody wants to lower taxes.
Right.
Everybody's concerned about taxes, but nobody really has any ideas as to how to do that. One of the things that actually it came up over my dinner table when I was talking to my husband. You know, again, there's a lot of learning that goes on with this,
Right.
but we need to make Connecticut a place where people want to come.
Exactly.
Connecticut is a beautiful, beautiful state. I believe that we're one of the highest paid states in the Northeast.
We've been noted for that.
Yep. We've got to get jobs in. And it was interesting. I work for the hospital, and there is a robot. It's called the Da Vinci robot that is made to do the help with the surgeries.
Right, I heard that, yeah.
It's the company, the manufacturer is Intuitive Surgical. So my husband and I are talking, and he said, what are some of the largest businesses, employers in the city? He said, but I'm thinking, he's like, well, you work for one, St. Mary's Hospital. So I'm thinking, you know what? Why can't we attempt, if we can attempt to get Amazon here, why not attempt to get Intuitive Surgical to come here? You have that industrial site on Freight Street. It's, again, there's a lot of pieces that have to come together to make something like that happen. But I brought the idea to the head of the hospital, to Dr. Schneider, and it wasn't poo-pooed. It was actually kind of like a light bulb. He thought, oh, you know what, that might be a good idea. I reached out to Mr. Stefanowski's campaign. I said, I have this idea. I'm not sure how to make it work, but I think it might be something to consider.
Right.
Nobody else is really coming up with ideas. They're saying we want to lower taxes, but how? Well, we've got to get some businesses here. That's why the tolls are so dangerous. We can't put these tolls on the interstate because that's going to affect businesses.
Yeah,
so
no
again, it's maybe not an idea that will work 100%, but it just shows that you have to start thinking out of the box. In order to make Connecticut better, water better, we have to make Connecticut a little bit more enticing. So
no, you're absolutely right. I mean, look, you know yourself, the saying goes that many people have moved from the state because there's no jobs, and a lot of companies have left the state because of the tax structure. You know, this is a problem. So, and the tax structure starts where, folks? In the state legislature. That's where it starts.
We can't keep giving break after break. We can't keep, and I learned something new. To me, bonding is borrowing. We can't keep bonding and bonding and bonding these millions of dollars because it has to come back on the other side. And where's it going to come back? It's going to come back right out of our pocketbooks.
Well, when you borrow, Danielle, what happens? Do you pay interest on that?
I believe so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, the millions and millions of dollars they continue to borrow, we are effectively and directly affected by it. That's the bottom line. We're footing the bill for these guys to make themselves look good. And you see, I mean, 10 million here, 5 million there. Eventually, you know, there's no more credit card.
No. And I think I said to you before I went on, we need to take one or two projects, get the plan, finish it, do it well, and then move on to the next thing. I've never seen so many open boxes everywhere. Everywhere you turn, there's a new thing going. I mean, East Main Street, I haven't driven down it, but I just saw the paper. That's being torn up.
That's
the
being
beautiful
torn up.
cobblestone.
I guess another $2 million for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, thank God, I got to say this, that the mayor and the governor have a close relationship, because I'm sure that's how the money comes to Waterbury.
Yeah.
You know, just like years ago when Roland was, he was from Waterbury. You see what that cost, you know. Yeah. But this is what we're up against. But if you get our legislators, and they're there for especially, first their district and the city. The district suffers because we badly need sidewalks. Roads are very, very poor, and we don't never get any attention to that. We have a member of our association that continually watches the sewer, the drainage on the side. We get nowhere. But at least if we had a representative that might be a little bit interested, we would have got some attention. Right. But we don't have anybody representing us.
Right. And that's
in
not
name
fair.
only. That's about it, the sides of it.
Yeah, and you said us, and that's me too.
Right,
He's
exactly.
my representative.
No, you're right.
Yep.
That's the problem. That's why I say, Danielle, I mean, it's in my opinion, I think it's too bad. In a way, it might be a godsend that there is a third candidate on that line. It just might, because hopefully he might take enough away from him, and especially you. You said you've been out there door knocking in that district, and I don't know, have you gone to Middlebury at all?
No, I haven't yet.
Yeah, see, that's a big nut, because the people out in Middlebury, and I just got through talking to somebody last night. I said the only way they think out Middlebury is a big R. We have to start changing the mindset that this is not good for our district, because I've never seen anything get as far as Middlebury is concerned. So I have what their amorous visions are about this guy. Yeah.
And I read the paper. I try to follow the news. I mean, I have some of my articles here. I try to see what the issues and the concerns are out there. It's very quiet. It is. it's a very quiet.
And that's what I say. That's the problem. A lot of people just sit back. Number one, they don't vote because they're so fed up. And the other reason why is this: what's the sense of me voting? Because nothing I do will change it anyway. But that's the wrong attitude. If you want something done especially in your district, get out there and vote. And the only way you can do it and get some kind of a change and some representation, I mean a lot more than what we're getting now, vote independent. See what happens to your district. Yeah. There's no question in my mind. No. I felt this way for a long time, and I say this a lot of times here, you know, because everybody's Republican, Democrat. They look at the independents. We're looked down on a lot of times by people.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to the paper. I'm hoping that the Republican American will run the 71st District article very soon. I talked to him. Soon. I really hope so.
That's it already. Oh, 2 minutes? Okay.
Okay. But I hope that people, he had said to me, you've ran a couple of times, and I said, I think that if I had a D or an R after my name 2 years ago, I think that I would have won. Mm-hmm. And there's not really much else I can say about that. I think that but look at me as more than an I. Look at me as somebody who would represent you like I would represent my family and make decisions for the 71st District like I would make decisions for my own family.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And don't forget, keep this in mind. As strong as the Democrats are, why haven't they never, ever put up a candidate against this man? Think about that. My friends, I know we just got the word. More than likely, unless I get a tape or record a program before, next Thursday, our Neighborhood Association Awards Dinner is next week. And I won't see you then, unless I get a pre-recording. And I want to thank you for allowing us into your living room this evening, folks. Danielle, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Art. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Don't forget, Danielle Albert on the independent line for the state representative in the 71st District. I'm sure you'll see a big change, and you'll know who your representative is, believe me when I tell you. With that being said, have a good evening. Thanks for tuning in.